Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 54 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. However, this episode of the show is being pre-recorded. So if you're sad about that, then just blame Rowdy, because apparently he has what's called a social life. I have no idea what that is, but apparently it's ruining our recording schedule. So apologies for that, but we'll crack on with the show, and maybe a couple of us will be hanging around in the chat, maybe interacting with you guys and girls. So don't worry about that. If you missed the live show, you can always check out the audio version of the show, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many of them as we can if we're floating around, which I'm sure we will be. And if you want us to leave us a question on Anchor, you can now leave us a voicemail, which we may play live on another show. So check that out on the smartphone application. Now, let me introduce you to the team. This week I've mixed it up a little bit, so it's not going to be the usual order. So who's going to be up first?
Well,
in Firewall. No. You can rest easy.
Nice. It's going to be Mike.
Yeah, me first. No. In Firewall, he likes to roll with a pumpy for those close encounters. It's Zimtok5. How you doing?
I love it. You recognized my beautiful Betsy. What's her name? Betsy? I can't remember.
Betsy
Some guy
the pumpy?
online made me name my shotgun in Firewall.
Yeah.
Bestie? I don't remember. But anyway, yeah. Those were good games.
They were very good games. I'm sure we'll be talking more about them.
Oh, yes.
Next up, this guy loves to hate people. And not in VR. I'm talking about in real life. Say howdy to Rowdy. It's Rowdy Guy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Also, I don't have a social life, so don't get worried. It's like people around me that have a social life, and I just need to go with them. So
you're being dragged along.
My social life is just their social life, and I need to interact with that. But yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm just chilling, playing some VR from day to day. I got my own little room now. Everything is going great. Still haven't hung anything up, as you can see, but when the walls are painted, I'm going to try and hang something there. So leave your suggestions, chat. What should I hang on my wall? No, actually, don't, because who knows what's going to come out of there.
Whatever the chat suggests, that's what you should put
up.
Yeah.
That
would be the best thing ever.
Do it. Damn it.
Trust me, don't go with that option. I have already done that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Pause.
So, rumor has it that this one's really into swinging. Through the trees in VR, of course. It's Nathy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, I love swinging.
Yeah.
Best intro ever.
I'm a swinger professional.
Don't type that in
swinger
on YouTube.
I am. Yes. Trees are my well, never mind. I don't know what to say. I thought you were referring to Windlands, but it could also be something else, of course. That's why I wanted to talk about trees for some reason. Never mind. Let's stop this introduction.
This always happens. This always happens when we pre-record shows at night, because it's quite late here, and we always get a little bit crazy at night. I don't know what it is, but it brings out the craziness in us all, I think.
So you're telling me that I'm crazy?
We're all crazy right now.
We're all
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You, Mr. Mike.
Enjoy.
Well, if you don't know who I am, I'm Mike, host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Wrench. This upcoming application will teach you how to build a car piece by piece in virtual reality. We're going to be talking about Apple's ARKit 2.0. We discuss how Apple will play an important role in the future of augmented reality. And then we're going to be talking about Nostos, a new, beautiful-looking open-world online RPG coming to VR soon. But first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing and their highlight of their week this week, even though it's been a relatively short week for us all. And let's start it off with Zim. Let's keep it in the order of the people that I introduced in the beginning. So let's find out what Zim's been up to.
You probably didn't catch me playing this one, Mike. You might not have ever played it yourself. Monstrum. I'm going to start with Monstrum.
Oh, my.
A lot of people know me for playing Dread Halls. In one sitting, I did 60 random runs of Dread Halls, thanks to my community torturing me. which is it takes 7 hours to do that, by the way.
Crazy.
But Monstrum is the second of two kind of peas in a pod. If you want a procedurally generated horror game that doesn't look pretty but gets the job done and gets you feckin' shaken, I'm still scared of this game.
Wow.
Anytime I play it, it is not a nice game. It is psychologically terrifying, and I've only ever beaten it once thanks to a game bug. Like, that's how hard it is. And the way the game works is
I didn't even know
you
that.
can actually be basically you're kind of on like a Titanic-esque kind of ship, and you're trying to get off, and you try to get either you repair a submarine, you escape that way. You get to a helicopter that happens to be chained to the top deck, and you break the chains, and you can fly the thing away after you fuel it up, kind of Left 4 Dead style. And the third one, the only one I ever managed was there's like a crane that can pick up a life raft, and you have to fill the life raft up and get off the ship that way. So there's different endings. I'm still chasing the other two endings, but I've been playing this game 4 years now, and I think a lot of people don't know about it. It's still available on Steam. I think it's only like
maybe it's time that you give it up then.
But it's entertaining. The people like it. You know?
Zim is like, no, just give me 2 more years, man. I can do it.
I can crack it. No, that's Chronos for me. Oh God, I'll never beat Chronos.
So how long, in terms of hours, do you have to play to get to an ending?
No, it's not that deep. I mean, it'd probably be 45 minutes to an hour, but you have to do the right things in the right order. And it's got kind of an AI director that feckin' hates you. So like, there's like 5 or 6, I can't remember how many, maybe 4 to 6 different types of bad guys. You don't know which one you're going to get.
Okay.
There's a guy who's called the Lava Mouth. He's just kind of like a big dude who comes after you, and if he catches you, he breathes fire into your face. There's another pod thing that's like triggered by your motion around the room, and you just see like these alien pods spawning. So as you're running through the corridors, and there's security cameras that can go off, and when they make noise, they attract the monster at you. The music is just pumping whenever it's, you know, the bad guys. It's like a freaking shock horror film. So Monstrum is a game. If you don't have enough stress in your life, then that's what you should play. So I don't know why I'm playing it.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that says, you know what I need in my life? More stress. But that sounds really interesting though, dude. Like, is it full of like jump scares and stuff, or is it just intense?
Yeah, it's mostly tension. It's mostly tension. And then it's being chased like crazy by something that's coming after you down these corridors. And there's like, you know, when like you've got like steam building up and you hear pipes like wrangling, and then all of a sudden it just goes kind of like in the Alien films. Like, that's the game, and it's absolutely bloody terrifying.
How much is it, by the way?
It's only about £8, I think, on Steam.
£8 for 4 years of playtime. That's amazing.
Exactly.
I was already doing the calculations in my head, like, so 60 hours.
That's
definitely the highlight of my week, though, because you know, that terror never goes away. I always think I'm gonna be a man this time. No, that was my week.
So that, yeah, if you want more stress in your life, check that out. So what about you, Rowdy? What have you been playing this week, dude?
I've played the only game that probably everyone else has played as well here on the channel. That's Windlands. Windlands 2. I've played quite a bit of that one. I haven't played as far as you probably, Mike, so you can probably talk about it a bit more than I do. I've just beaten the first and the second boss. The thing is, like, I remember when I played the first Windlands, like, it really freaked me out to do like the swinging. This time I had that a little bit less, not because the mechanics are less good, not at all. I think they're actually better, but I think because I'm a little bit more used to doing crazy stuff in virtual reality, just in general. So I think that first feeling I got from like trying something new is a little bit gone for me. But yeah, I think the game is awesome. I really enjoy it. I haven't tried the multiplayer yet. I haven't done any of that yet. I'm just going through the missions, just flying around, swinging around, not really flying, dying a lot. I've died plenty of times. I learned from Zim that it's not lava, but it's sand what is streaming down. Didn't know that. Thought it was lava. I've been saying lava the entire during my entire video. But no, that's what I've been playing this week and the couple of days that I've had so far. Yeah.
Nice. And what about you, Nathan? Have you been playing Windlands 2 as well?
Yeah, I did play it. It's really nice. Compared to the first one, it's like a big step forward, and it has co-op. I mean, that's something different. Plus, you can not only use these grapple hooks now, you can also get this bow, so you can really do some epic combat in a way.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. I'm not sure if they would be able to make Windlands 3. I think this should be kind of like, well, the end for Windlands in a way, but maybe they should develop more with this Spider-Man mechanic, but in like a different style, storyline, etc. But
it's a good point that you bring up from the swinging, because I remember the first time I did that, I really felt like a superhero. That you swing, you fly, you take your bow out, you shoot at something, you swing and you fly through.
Yeah.
That feels awesome to do that. The only thing I was kind of missing there is like I would like still something like a bullet time or something, so you could like swing,
a slow-mo,
turn around, shoot your arrow, and then swing further. Now I need to do it in real time. It's a bit harder, but
yeah, I think the bullet time would help a lot with the kind of hardcore mode, because they've got a proper one death, for the game. I'm gonna try it at some stage, but you can literally crank up the difficulty to permadeath.
Yeah. They also have a mode which is no swinging.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the original game had a mode whereby you had inelastic ropes. I don't know if you ever played that mode. So instead of the rope being bungee and pulling you, you would just literally, like it was a hard rope, you would just swing off of it. There's also, well, I think is that what you just said? Just a no ropes mode.
No ropes at all.
Yeah, no ropes. So you
How does
just
that
parkour.
work?
Just parkour.
Just running and grabbing and climbing. I have no idea how that would work.
Not grabbing. It's wall jumping essentially.
Right.
So
well, if you look at the levels, like they are a platformer too, so you don't have to swing all the time. Like in my case, I have been jumping from one tree to another, and you had like those flat surfaces as well. So yeah, you can do that. You don't have to. You can also wall jump, by the way.
I definitely can't do that. I tried it and I died because I ran off those platforms in the tutorial already.
You might be able to do that as well in the first level, but like I can guarantee you cannot do that in the last level. Like no freaking way.
Quick check question. Have you guys in the tutorial level found the chicken?
Yes.
No.
You did, Nathan?
No.
I think I did. Yeah. I also heard there are a bunch of Easter eggs.
There's loads.
Apparently we're all in it.
Yeah,
we're all in
I was trying to find myself, but I didn't even know where to start.
FReality logo, apparently.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't found it yet. No. But I haven't gone that far either.
I found Mike and I found Nathan.
What?
Yeah, I found you. By going the wrong way.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't realize I was going the wrong way. I was just going the wrong way. And actually I got to a point, developers messaged me afterwards. It was completely dead-ended. Like I could not make a particular jump. And it's like I couldn't make it back the other way. Like I was stuck because of the saves. Like I got to a point and then I couldn't make it back. I actually did make it back in the end, but it was hard. Like
So if you want to find Mike and Nathan, you always need to go the wrong way.
Yeah, they're all off the beaten track. They're all off the beaten track. None of them you'll find them just by progressing through the game. They're all a little bit hidden. But
you did say one thing, Mike, that I have to completely concur with. You said it would take you days to find all the collectibles. The amount of little nooks and crannies in that goddamn game, there's no way I'm ever finding all the collectibles. The first game was relatively boxed. The size and scale of this fucking game, the levels, oh my god, I'm never gonna find them all. No, that's not gonna happen.
That's the thing. Like I finished the game in just over 6 hours, and I won't spoil anything. But I found only 26 out of the possible 120 collectibles. And I wasn't necessarily looking for them, but if I saw them, I'd go for them. But like when it comes to the later levels and collecting some of these collectibles, they're in such obscure locations that you really have to do some advanced swinging techniques to get to them. Like there's one where you have to grapple and use your momentum to swing yourself below it and then rappel up with speed so you land on the platform that you were just swinging underneath on, if that makes sense. Which makes for some incredibly frustrating, but also very satisfying swinging later on in the game. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's probably one of the best titles that's come out this year so far. It's totally up there in my top 5. I really enjoyed my time with it. I think the co-op and the multiplayer works a treat. Me and PSVR Frank jumped on very briefly just to test it out. And yeah, it was very easy to connect with each other and play with each other. online. So yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend it. You know, if you want to go and check out a game.
Do you guys think they should make another Windlands after this one, or is
Personally, I would want another one because I think they could make it even bigger and even better. I love what they're doing with scale, like the sense of scale and the sense of the titans that you fight, I think is great, but they could be even bigger. So yeah, I would want another one. I would, and I think they could just double down on the formula even more. You know, make a more engaging story. Because one of the things I didn't like about it was that, you know, you had this sense that the Windlands was in danger by these giant titans and this evil Baldaka dude who wanted to mess things up. But you never really saw the repercussions of that. Like what I wanted to see was one of these huge titans just smash a village to pieces in front of me, and all the little like lizard people that live there like crying and screaming, to really feel like I was that hero that they needed to save the day.
Everyone had to die for you to feel better.
Exactly, yeah.
It's still a little bit relaxed. Like I think the original Windlands was still one of these kind of quite chill games. But to kind of compare with what Nathies may be saying, for me, like they've adopted story in a way that before there wasn't really an overt story. It was more hints along the way. Now they've kind of, I won't say shoehorned in, but they've added a story. But I do find that in terms of story pacing along the way, you go from, oh, I'm hearing story to like, oh, now 20 minutes of silence. And now I'm, you know, it kind of feels undulating in that way. And when you compare it to something like, I don't know, Hellblade feels like, you know, you're getting pulled along this kind of current the whole time. I do find Windlands to be a little bit inconsistent in its presentation of the story. And so I haven't decided yet if that's a problem or if I like it, but I did find the kind of natural of, you know, getting lost. And every so often that little icon that shows you the way to go for me just disappears for some reason. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's me just being daft, but I do find some of the pieces of the game to feel a little bit like they could use a little bit more polish. And the main complaint I had, which is a real nitpicky one, is that they did not optimize it for tactile support. And so when you fire the bow or, you know, you grapple with the hooks, if you're wearing a sub pack or whatever, you're not feeling it. Whereas certain things like, you know, someone's bassy voice will. And if they do a little bit of design and patching, I think they could really improve that piece.
If I think overall, that I really want now from games, it's that, or what they have shown at least, is that like a Spider-Man game in VR would work. I think it would work.
Yeah,
it really would.
Yeah, but overall, like with Windlands, I feel like the story wasn't what made me think it was a great game. It was just like the satisfaction of the speed and momentum that you get from swinging, and that satisfaction when you have a really smooth run is so satisfying. And then the combat as well, like when you take down one of these giant titans, it's super satisfying. So like the story for me was kind of a bit irrelevant because the rest of the game I enjoyed so much, but I think they really could double down on the formula and make a better game in the future.
What difficulty did you play it on, Mike?
Just normal.
Okay, because I'm playing it on hard, and what I find is the scaling, because they make the bosses tougher. And some of the, like the door sequences, my God, fucking hell. Like the door sequences get tougher on hard mode. I mean, I was having to do those doors maybe 30, 40 times to just clear one of them, you know? But the bosses, like there's this snake boss in the middle of the desert that I won't go into detail, but you play the same sequence like 6 times in a row. And it's like, how much longer? There's no indication of like how many more iterations of this same piece. Like they'll cycle from bots in the sky to snake, bots in the sky, snake. And it's like, I do this like 6 times and then I beat it. That I found to be a little bit like, okay, I feel like the end of Chrono Trigger here. How long is this going to go on for? But aside from that, the scaling problem, the boss battles sell the game to me. Like alone.
I think on hard mode, you probably have to do that loop more.
Yeah,
because
exactly. But that's what I mean.
6 times, yeah.
The linear scaling, they need to mix it up a little bit or give you some kind of indication, like how far along am I? Something. But there's no feedback on that, and it just becomes kind of a grind.
But yeah, I do think they've got a good formula here that I would like to see more of it. In a way, I want them to do something different for their next game, but I definitely want to see Windlands return in the future, put it that way.
Yeah.
Well, if they can get their hands on the Spider-Man, thing, then that could be interesting. But
that would be an amazing opportunity for them as a studio.
The thing is with that Spider-Man game that we all played in VR, that Spider-Man experience, the reason why they didn't do the web sling and all of that was because they were, of course, scared that people would get motion sick, you know? But if you see like how Windlands 2 does it, it's, I mean, I haven't heard anyone yet that said like, oh, I got like really motion sick from playing it. So that's a sign.
But that's also, I think that's also because right now the game is not out yet, so the big main crowd hasn't played it yet. So we don't really know the overall reactions. Yes, they have been showing it off, but the actual audience that is gonna buy it is gonna be different.
What, Windlands? Windlands is
Yeah.
out. Launched
Windlands
yesterday.
It's out now,
Yeah,
The
on
12th.
Rift, but for other
Oh, you mean
people,
I see the other platforms like Vive.
yes,
and
you're
PSVR.
right. On the Rift side, you can already hear the feedback, but I think there's a lot more going on. Let's say if you play it on PlayStation, who the heck knows how well that goes for people? You know what I mean?
It was very comfortable. The first one was very comfortable on PlayStation. That's how I platinumed it. But I am nervous at how good the PC version looks and how they scale that back for PlayStation users. Like,
Well,
I
exactly.
the lighting, in my opinion, in this game is one of the best VR
Yeah,
games.
it's
Like the
really
lighting
nice.
just looks. It's the
So
way all the
colourful.
textures blend is like gorgeous.
Mm.
Love it.
Yeah, I
But,
totally agree. Totally agree.
And
Yeah,
the
I'm
field of
excited to
view
see.
too,
Oh
What's that?
yeah, yeah. We should mention that actually, yeah, because like
You're
props
right.
to them. You know, really appreciate what they did there. They basically implemented a field of view toggle on for content creators and streamers. So if you pressed F10, the field of view would be enhanced, which made it way nicer for video creators and streamers to show off the game. And I think it's so important. We've mentioned it a couple of times on the show before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really gave them props for that. Pixel Rip did something similar. Alchemy Labs also implemented something similar. So I really appreciate when
and
developers
you
take
could
the
even
time to do that.
adjust the resolution of it as well if you want recording
Yeah.
720p,
yeah,
if you want recording 1080p, 2K. You could all set that in Windlands too. So that was actually
Very
pretty
smart.
nice. You could also extend the field of view even beyond the point that it gets like the bendy, cool
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
zooming effect. Like so, they actually did some really cool stuff with that.
But I like
great-
how easy it was. That's
Yeah.
the main thing. Like single button push, and it did. It works for streaming. I used it each time. So thank you, Mike, for repeating it because they put the legwork in. They've obviously listened and
Yeah, I asked
actually
them
having
actually.
that, what a difference.
I asked them actually, like, how long did it take now for you guys to implement this? And they said it took them about roughly 2 days to build this tool. Of course, that depends on like the engine that you're using and how complex the game is and all of that. But I think if let's say it takes a week then for someone else maybe to implement it, that's still like something worth it to do. I think because if your game looks great on a 2D monitor, just while it's a VR game, I think that's a great plus for your VR game.
Absolutely.
It's a good point. Is Windlands 2 coming to 2D? Is it just
No.
is it a flat game? No, right?
No.
It's VR
The
only.
first one did.
Yeah, the first one did, and I think with mixed reception.
When I spoke to them, because I did a little interview with them, and I asked them that question, and they said that the original 2D version of Windlands was actually a dev mode, but they just thought, let's just release it because we could release this as a full game or as a flat game, and they did. And they had pretty good success with that because obviously people like Jacksepticeye ended up playing it 2D and got a lot of views.
So why didn't they do the second one then?
Because they Windlands, the whole idea was to be a VR game, and the second one, it was just purely VR in their mindset right from day one. So
So
they didn't feel like they needed
original
to.
one was also developed for VR with that in mind.
So no. So the original game was a VR game from the outset, but they had a 2D developer mode, so they could test it. Like the DK1 was very difficult to use on and off as a developer and get everything up and running, whereas the CV1's a lot easier apparently in their eyes. So they had to have a dev mode that was on a pancake monitor. So they just decided to release the game back then, but that wasn't the case with Windlands 2. Yeah.
Interesting.
So Windlands, go and check it out for sure. This week, I actually went and played Firewall. As I've been meaning to play it for some time. Zim kindly showed me the ropes. He was my sort of instructor for playing it on PSVR. We both played it with the aim controller, right? Which I think is a must. If you're going to play this game, play it with the aim controller. Oh my God, it adds so much more to the game, in my opinion. I really would urge Rowdy. I know you sort of had a few reservations about it last week, but I would really urge you to go back and try it again online with multiplayer because it's kind of one of those games that I really haven't had that feeling of intensity for a long time. You know, when you're playing a game and you're so immersed and engrossed into the game that you start to panic and stuff when things start going to shit around you.
When the
And,
tracking goes all the way.
I didn't actually have that much. I did suffer the drifting once, but it was only once. But there was a moment where me and Zim were in this room together, and then there was enemies outside the window. So I was shooting through the window at this guy, and then he threw like a grenade in, and then things started getting a bit crazy. And then I was just blind firing out the window and like managed to down him. And then like we managed to sort of turn the whole thing around, and it was just so intense and so fun. And then there was another experience where the whole team was dead and it was just me alive. And the rest of the team were monitoring the CCTV cameras in the game and telling me where the enemy was coming to my location. So I knew it was coming. So I'd fortified my location with mines and stuff. And then the guy was like trying to pop around the door, then go back again. And we had this kind of one-on-one sort of like face-off. I managed to kill him. And, you know, it was just so satisfying. So I really, really enjoyed my time with Firewall. I definitely want to spend more time doing it. It's got this really satisfying upgrade loop as well, where, you know, you earn money through successful contracts. So you get cryptocurrency, which you can spend to upgrade your contractor and your weapon system. And the contractors are cool because they've all got unique abilities. So like mine had an ability to revive your down members quicker. So if Zim got down, for example, I could quickly, you know, revive him up. Which was really useful as well playing online. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it. It does kind of make me pine for a version of it on PC because I feel like it would perform better on PC, and plus you'd have 360 movement, you know, whereas on PSVR you kind of have to use the thumbstick to kind of move. But yeah, it's a great game, and I hopefully
let's try it together one time because we've been staying there now for so long. Let's try to like meet up in there and try to like play it together. Then you guys can maybe convince me that it is something that I should try.
I gotta say one thing though, for Mike's first go as a noob at this game, he like settled in just you know, like you got friends who like are good at games. I can tell Mike is just one of those guys who's just good at games because he started off, he saved our team a couple of times. I'm still like shooting myself in the face. It's just great. But despite all the floundering, and like Mike said, there was that time when we were in that hotel room, and like literally, like grenade comes through the window, and he's shooting out the window, and I'm like, I open the door and shoot out this way, like, and it's so brilliant to have that be such a dynamic thing, and literally you're like kind of shitting yourself at that point, and going, I'm definitely dead here. I am shooting out of panic, and then you end up winning it. Like it's great, and it's just such like camaraderie. That's the nicest part about it. It's actually the bond with the other players online.
Team building experience
as well.
Yeah. It's another good reason to buy PlayStation VR. I mean, they do so well on the co-op side of things. If you want to play like fun multiplayer VR stuff, they have such like decent and solid content.
And if you have a PlayStation, you just have to get a PlayStation VR. There's just no excuse now. If you already have a PlayStation, just go and get it.
Just look into the webcam with your hypnotizing eyes. They will join.
Yeah.
One of us.
The great thing was as well that we never had any problems finding games. You know, there was always a full lobby. We always were straight into a game.
That's
exactly for a VR game, it's kind of unheard of. But what I'm hoping is that, you know, with the success of Firewall, because it has been a success so far, is that First Contact Entertainment will earn enough money that they can just put it on every platform, whatever game they make next. So that's hopeful thinking from my
I mean,
behalf.
we had one attempt on the PC side with Breach It, right? Where you could grab a hammer and smack in a door, stuff like that. It sounded very cool, but in the end, it just didn't work out.
The concept is cool,
still
but just
space
the
for
multiplayer didn't work well. Because we tried a couple of times like connecting, and that's like, and if that doesn't work, it's already so hard to get into the game. Yeah,
I think Onward is also slowly getting into this, where it becomes a game like that, where you can really use all kinds of gadgets and do much more than what the base game could.
It's really good. It's really
but another one, like, I mean, one thing I would say, it's funny because, Mike, as you said, like having a VR lobby full or whatever and available is a little bit rare. But I would definitely say that on PlayStation, it's a notch different. You know, there's a larger population there. I went back into playing Farpoint multiplayer. And again, no issues. I mean, the game's been out ages. It's about a year and a half, maybe more. And no issues. Just like straight away getting into a competitive match, did PvP and stuff. But I did, despite my kids continually wanting me to fry aliens and stuff, like I played some PvP matches and it's nowhere near as fun as Firewall. Like Firewall, I could play that for weeks.
Could there maybe also be that those lobbies are more filled because games on PlayStation are like a little bit more expensive compared to the ones on Steam? because like people buy a game and they really want to get like their play hours out of that. While on Steam you can sometimes buy like these games, like how much is Onward nowadays? Like, you know, it's not that expensive. Like when you buy a PlayStation game, most people buy it on like release date. It's like what, 60 euros, something like that.
Yeah.
Even for the VR titles. So maybe
But I
that's what I was saying last week, that I thought the pricing wasn't necessarily bad, because I think it kind of locks you into, I've got this plastic doohickey, I've got this game now, I might as well, you know, put myself in this game and make it feckin' work, right? Like, and I think that like the player base that I've met so far have been absolutely lovely, even from fucking crazy people who you meet who are clearly ex-military. You know, there's some really awesome people on there right now.
So
I think the quality control on the PlayStation platform is so good that there is almost no game you buy there that isn't that great. Well, if you play a game on PC, everyone that has a VR headset and plays on PC had a multiplayer game where they bought it. They were like, "Oh, this is great," and then a week later, everyone disappeared. Well, on PlayStation, that rarely happens because the games that are on there are good. There's almost no shuffleware on there. Well, on PC, you get flooded with stuff that you can get scammed with, if you know what I mean.
And me and Nathy know firsthand, trying to play co-op games together, the amount of games we've tried to play together. And like some games, the servers have just closed. And the game's not even that old. They've just decided now this
example is ARKit, where we tried it and there is no server. It just doesn't work. Or companies who only have servers in the US or have only servers in Asia. Yeah, it's very strange. PC, like Steam, needs better quality control. I think in general, every platform on PC needs something, because it's just sad. People buy a game, then they can't play multiplayer, and they will not try it again. Well, on PlayStation, like how many games did you guys play where you were like, okay, this is not that good? Like PlayStation just has such good
I don't know, a lot
developers.
of their stock stuff I'm not happy with, you know? Like their intro, not their intro disc, but what was that called? Something Worlds.
PlayStation Worlds.
Yeah, I just like most of that stuff, except for the heist thing. Like most of the stuff that they ship with the disc, and then there was another one that was like Game Room, or it's the one with the kind of iconic PlayStation bobblehead,
The
you
mascot,
know, creatures. Like that stuff is just not great, and
But it's
there is a lot
demos
of the
old
free
demos.
apps on the game that are not good. But for the stuff that you pay for, if you're paying like 15 quid and up, generally speaking, I would agree with what Nathan's saying. Like their quality control is good. Stuff all runs to frame rate. It's all definitely playable, you know. But to your point, like on PC, I can still remember the incredible drop off. There was a game that went super popular. I don't know if any of you guys played it. It was called Battle Dome. It was like this. You'd paint the floor and paint the walls and jumping around. It was like the first like proper like FPS, almost like a paintball game, and it was like maxed out. Within 2 months, it was something like it was Onward and H3 VR were getting hot, and then literally nobody was there, and I couldn't have predicted that. That was just that was hard to see, to be honest, because it's still a good game, but nobody plays it.
So there you go. Go and grab your doohickey and jump online on PSVR. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
So let's move on to some quick news then, and let's talk about Windows MR headsets. Because this week there's been an awesome deal if you're interested in picking up a Windows MR headset. B&H Photo are currently selling the Lenovo Explorer mixed reality headset for $99 US. It doesn't actually come with any controllers, but I'd imagine you can probably pick some up fairly cheap. The headset uses the Windows mixed reality platform, of course, so you get the inside-out tracking, so you don't have to worry about, tracking stations or sensors or anything like that. Setup is super easy. It has the same field of view as the Rift and the Vive at 110 degrees, has a slightly higher overall resolution of 2880 by 1440, plus you have access to all the games on Steam. You know, most VR games on Steam now support Windows MR natively now. It doesn't have any built-in audio, but you can also just plug in your favorite set of headphones. You know, it's got an audio jack. It's super cheap, and I think it's a great entry into the world of VR if you haven't got a VR headset already. Although the site is in US dollars, they do ship worldwide, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can take advantage of this offer. Hopefully, it will still be up when this show goes live. We'll make sure there's like a link in the description or something, but $99 US for a VR headset. Yeah,
amazing.
It is. It's incredible. But just be aware, if you are in the UK or in Europe and you're importing something like this, you might get hit with import tax. Just be aware of that.
I heard you say if you're in Europe and you're important, you might just get hit with tax.
Yeah.
Make sure you're not important.
Yeah, and although I'm not like a massive fan of the Windows mixed reality platform, I think, this is a difficult deal not to recommend. Like, it's amazing, really.
What is the resolution on it? Do you know it?
Yeah, 2880 by 1440. So it's actually a bump up over Rift and Vive.
It's nice. It's nice, and for developers too. It's an amazing deal.
Schools or people who want to buy in bulk.
That's what I was thinking, Rowdy. If anyone wants to buy in bulk, now's the time. Like,
if you guys are smart, you just when you go to Oculus Connect, you drop all of your clothes. You just put one pair of pants on one shirt, and then the rest you just put like headsets in there, and then you go back.
You just wear it as a hat. It's just like, this is my new hat.
Well. Funny enough, I'm like, I should be ashamed of saying this, but I bought a pair of very nice sneakers and I delivered them at Don's house, aka VR Gamer Dude. He's gonna go to Oculus Connect. He gives them to me. I put them on my. I hope like the people that check like the thing are not watching, but I put them on my feet and they're like, "Yay, hey, these are my my casual shoes as always."
So have you ever heard of that game called TSA Frisky? That's what it's going to be like when Nathan goes through airport security.
I played that one. I know how that works.
Yeah. Good, like, step aside, boy. We've got to search you now.
Funny enough, you mentioned that game. That some of those people actually carry like VR headsets.
Yeah.
So that could be a mixed reality one of like $100.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm curious.
So
are there any reviews on it already? Like
on this headset?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the headset's been out for ages. So
that's the old one, yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of reviews on it.
We talked about this one a while back.
Yeah. It's pretty much the same as all the other mixed reality headsets, really. The only standout ones are the Samsung Odyssey, which is an even higher bump in resolution, and you've got the built-in audio. But it's kind of one of the standard of the range, pretty decent. Like I said, the only thing you'll need to do is buy some controllers and source them from somewhere. But
Rowdy, it was around the Halo era, Do you remember that?
Okay. I definitely remembered that part.
Okay. Yeah. Now you know when it came out.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. Okay, so let's spin on and talk about Pimax because there is an embargo that is ending on Sunday the 16th of September. So reviews and more information is going to be available on these headsets really soon. So if, like me, you back the headset and you're interested to hear about all the things about this headset, then you should stay tuned to our friends of the channel, Sweeviver, Voodoo D, and Mixed Reality TV. I'm sure all of them are dying to tell us all about these headsets. But Pimax have stated that they're going to be shipping out these headsets at the end of this month, and they estimate that 90% of all backers should have their headsets by Christmas. So it's a fairly big shipping window, but fingers crossed we'll get one soon. I'm kind of intrigued. The thing that intrigues me more than anything else is that originally they said the sort of minimum spec was, I think it was a GTX 1070 for the 8K. I'm really intrigued to see if that is actually the case. And that's the kind of thing that I'm going to be looking into the most, especially with these guys' reviews. Because obviously, I run an original Titan X, which is pretty OP. But for a headset like this, I'm wondering if even that's going to be capable. So maybe, the RTX series might be needed to run a headset like this. But again, no one really knows right now until we find out from these people that have been testing it for months.
All you can really do, Mike, is just buy a couple of the new cards and RTX on your way to victory,
Do you know what? Like today this is the thing, I punish myself. I was looking at the EK website. They make water blocks because my whole system's completely water cooled. And they've pre-ordered the pre-orders for the 2080 series is up, and I just keep on torturing myself with it and like, maybe I should just buy the water blocks now and then get a founder's card when I can, maybe find one in the States when I'm there, at OC5, smuggle it down my trousers on the way through security on the way home.
Everyone is
with my new Apple Watch and my new iPhone. I keep on torturing myself with the new RTX cards, but I'm going to wait to see what these guys say first about the minimum specs required before I throw a kidney out the window on the black market or something.
I'm really confused here. Hang on. Like, import-wise, right? Are you saying you're not allowed to walk over the border with a new piece of equipment that you bought in the States?
You sure you can, but you have to pay import tax on it, and that's where you get stung. So you could end up paying relatively the same sort of price.
Or more.
Or possibly more.
I
Not
also
that we can,
heard.
not that we condone it, but if you happen to be wearing that device or pair of sneakers, then maybe you could get away with it.
That's true. If you like, you can't wear GPUs on your feet. I can wear sneakers on my feet, and no one is gonna. You can do it like, these are my new shoes. I got two RDX shoes
on a chain around my neck and say it's like
that's my new necklace. What are you talking about?
That would be so bling walking around with oh my god.
But what I also heard is that a lot of people are going to get this 5K headset.
Yes.
This 5K plus. That's how it's called, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened because they had a backer meeting in Berlin where they were showing off the 8K M2, which is like the kind of better 2 prototype model. And they also showed off the 5K Plus, which they hadn't showed off before. And basically what that is it's a new model that features a new panel. Pixels per inch have been improved by 9%, and the sharpness has been enhanced. But this is the cool thing. Like, if you were original backer of the 5K, you will automatically be upgraded to the 5K Plus, and you'll get a 5K Plus for free. However, when they go to retail, they'll have them separate. So you'll have the 5K and the 5K Plus as separate models.
Is there a 5K S Plus Max?
No, unfortunately not. No.
By the way, I thought that the 5K was more the one that was aimed at for like movies or like watching movies and stuff, but they're also for gaming then. The refresh rates
of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it all depends on what kind of GPU you're running to if you can really power one of these things. Because what they're also saying is now that if you've backed an 8K and after these reviews and hands-on testing, you feel like you don't have enough graphical power to run one, you can actually downgrade to the 5K Plus, and they'll bump up that with some accessories to make it sure it's the same sort of value. So,
but are there any official like details out of what the recommended specs are?
So on the website, it still states that the min spec for an 8K is a 1080, a GTX 1080. Not 1080, 1070. Sorry, 1070.
But I mean more like, did they release any tests with like a 1070 or something, like some benchmarks or like? Because it can run a 1070 or like maybe like 5 frames per second or something.
No, and this is the thing. We have to wait until these guys have their reviews up, and I know that I looked on the Pimax forum today. Apparently, Sweevive is aiming like for a 2.5 hour review of this headset. So you're going to have all the details there for sure. But it's going to be like the most interesting point is going to be whether you can run this beast or not.
But with these RDXs, like a lot of developers who make games, especially the AAA studios, they do have these RDX cards. Did Pimax get any of these cards to test? That means that when it's out, it still hasn't been officially tested on these RDX cards.
I doubt it. But because they certainly haven't announced it
so much. Because I mean, the RDX is more for like optimization of the game, right? Of like the game engine optimization of the.
You'll just have performance headroom to play with. That's the key. So it'll be interesting. Like, and this is the thing. Like, when this goes live, obviously it'll be the next day. It'll be tomorrow that you can check out all these reviews and information. And I'm sure they'll all be uploading around the same sort of time. I myself will be interested to see, just purely based on the performance levels, how it is. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I really want to know.
Yeah. So that's some more information about the Pimax. Let's talk about the Void, because the Void is kind of cool. And they're adding some new experiences to their already awesome lineup of experiences you can try out already. Now, if you're not familiar with the Void, it's a fully immersive experience where you can suit up with a haptic vest, VR headset, you have a backpack with a PC in it that powers the whole thing. You traverse around like a small maze with up to 4 friends, and it's got like tactile buttons. It uses heat, wind, rumble. You can pick up guns and stuff. Like I experienced it playing Star Wars Secrets of the Empire in London at the Westfield Centre when it was there briefly. And it was an amazing experience. Like probably one of the best experiences I've had in terms of location-based VR. almost topped by Arizona Sunshine. If Arizona Sunshine added some more tactile stuff, I think they would beat it hands down. But it was a really good experience, and I urge you to check it out if you're near one. Unfortunately, it's not in London anymore, which is a real shame. It was just a temporary setup there. So it's only in the States, but you can check out their locations on thevoid.com if you're interested. But they've added a new experience recently called Nicodemus, Demon of Invanishment, which kind of looks like a really spooky supernatural experience.
Oh.
But if you're not a fan of that and you're a bit of the faint heart and you want something a bit more family friendly, they've got Wreck-It Ralph coming as an experience, which will be really cool. I love Wreck-It Ralph. I think it's a great movie.
Is it about the new movie or the old one?
The new one.
Oh, so you go into the internet then?
Quite possibly, yeah.
I just played their trailer as well. Like, their trailers look so freaking awesome as well.
Oh yeah,
it's freaking awesome.
The Ghostbusters one is still my favorite one.
Should be, it looks so good. It looks
great.
so good. I'll play.
Yeah, you're right. You've got Ghostbusters as well, which is I haven't tried that one, but I really want to. But they've also teased another experience that is coming to their platform, and it's going to be based on a Marvel movie. But they said it's going to be based on a Marvel movie that's releasing in 2019 that is undisclosed. So from the research, it shows that it could be either Captain Marvel, it could be Spider-Man, their new Spider-Man film, or it could be the new Avengers movie. Now, Avengers would make sense because there's 4 of you, so you could all pick a hero. Maybe that would be kind of cool.
Marvel Powers United 2.
yeah.
Just the same game.
But it is like very interesting to hear that Disney is now working together because, as you may know, you could try these Void experiences at Disneyland, and I feel like they want to really build this into all the parks. That's the feeling I have, where Disney is like, they are always looking for new ways of entertainment. They have been on top of VR for a while. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys have seen my video I posted on my Twitter where you saw like Michael Eisner trying like very old VR. So they have always been like kind of looking and waiting, like Apple as well, that we are going to talk about soon, for the right moment to kind of jump in. And I think at this moment of what VR is capable of, it's great. Like being in this Wreck-It Ralph like movie in this universe. I mean, kids are gonna. Is it for kids too, or is it still for adults?
No, I'd imagine it's for kids. Like being Wreck-It Ralph, it must be.
Oh, you can be Wreck-It Ralph or being in the...
Or part of the universe. The details aren't specific about that. But maybe you want to avoid sending the kids into the really spooky one because that does look terrifying.
I was going to pick on Mike earlier because, Mike, you said this thing about the kind of location-based VR and it being one of the best. And I just immediately imagined the back of your wall there, you having these little placards like stuck on the wall, kind of very much like... Top Gear, and you're just like putting which one's better? Is it Arizona Sunshine? Is it the Void? Who wins?
Yeah, Arizona Sunshine was so good, but if it had the tactile feedback, like the buttons and the heat and the wind and the rumble, it would be better.
Makes a big.
I think the Void just tops it, but it's very close. And bearing in mind, Arizona Sunshine didn't need a maze or anything like that. No. They managed to do some amazing things, especially with movement, like the way the platforms and lifts move was incredible.
It sounded good. It's one of those experiences you hear someone say to you, and you're like, "Damn it, I'm not going to get to play that."
Yeah.
Well, the company that actually make the technology behind it, Boston, they're actually a UK-based company. So if you ever want to travel there together and check it out,
at all. We took our tickets to the US. What do you mean you're not in Massachusetts?
I've been talking to them behind the scenes, so maybe we could organize a trip there. Maybe
doesn't sound bad to me.
But yeah, let's talk about some titles that are releasing next week, because we've got a couple of titles, actually, a couple of cool ones to keep an eye out for. The first up is Transference. We've talked about this game quite a bit on the show just recently. I tried the demo on PSVR called the Walter Test Case, and I've also tried the demo at Gamescom of the full game. It's completely messed up, but it's very interesting. It's a collaboration from Spectravision, which is run by Elijah Wood, and Ubisoft Montreal, and you will basically lose yourself in a destructive tale of a man's obsession as you explore his digitally recreated memories. This game is basically trying to merge like movies and games together in virtual reality. It mixes full VR gameplay with real life footage and puts players in stressful situations. You have to experience the
stress, Mike.
Yeah, more stress.
More stress.
More
Does that
stress.
4 years of playtime too? Oh,
Yeah, is there 4 years of playtime in this
Well,
book?
you'll have to find that out, I guess. Zim.
You'll get stuck in the world.
Yeah. You get projected into digital consciousness of troubled test case subjects, and maybe you will be able to influence their fate from within these memories. So kind of interesting.
Just
It's
around
such,
Halloween
I
as
still
well.
find it such an interesting concept. Like, mixing the
It is.
movie with the game, it makes it look so creepy real. It's so creepy real that it's like, it's like getting on the border of like something that I might not want to try, which I think
Like
is
the-
cool. That makes me want to try it.
Yeah, like the water test case, like I mentioned on the show before, it was super disturbing, man. Like, and hits home with some real hard hitting topics, like post-traumatic stress syndrome of army veterans. That's a serious problem, and the way they portrayed it in the game was super disturbing. But it's interesting. It is interesting, and it's pushing the boundaries, I think. So
Let's say if
Kinda
you
cool.
like Stranger Things and The Matrix, this is good stuff.
yeah, you'll like it. Yeah, and the thing is as well, you don't need a VR headset to enjoy it either. It's going to be releasing on Rift, Vive, PSVR, and Pancake versions on Steam, PS4, and Xbox One on the 18th of September.
Wait,
So,
are you not promoting a pancake version of a game? Don't.
yeah, apparently so.
Don't.
PD, are you
don't.
watching?
Yeah,
PD.
he's gonna ban me. He's gonna kick me off my own show.
I know. Don't. Also, like Mike told PD that he was playing Spider-Man last week. PD
Yeah.
wasn't happy. So, if you see PD, don't
Yeah.
tell him you're playing pancake games. Just
Well,
tell him you're playing VR games.
As you're exposing me, maybe I should expose you for playing Strange Brigade.
Well, let me then expose you
Shots
for
fired.
playing it with me because we played it together, actually. So you're also exposing yourself.
Yeah, double exposure.
This is
And-
a thing. Like, this is totally a thing. As a VR creator, it took me probably 3.5 years before I felt comfortable even. And it's not that I initially it was like I didn't quite like playing 2D games anymore. But now there's definitely a guilt side to it, or was for a time. Until I
That's
felt
what you
comfortable.
get when you're like a full-time YouTuber, right? Like then you get the time.
Let's say-
Get the time.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say within the VR bubble, you're not allowed to say that. But outside of that, I'm just telling everyone, like, I also play pancake games, and I'm not afraid to tell you.
It's a guilty pleasure. It's like a dirty
Yeah,
secret.
it's weird. It is. But on the other side, you could say, like, hey, I like playing Spider-Man until there's an actual VR Spider-Man game coming out.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
True. So now that we've all exposed ourselves,
Yeah.
let's talk about the next game that's coming out, and that's Blind. Blind is a narrative-driven psychological thriller for virtual reality where the player is blind and must explore their surroundings using echolocation. So you wake up in a strange room with little memory of how you got there, and you must make the shocking discovery that you've lost your sense of sight. You're goaded by a sinister and twisted warden, and you must explore a perverse and frightening mansion using sound alone. So
Ooh,
you send
spooky.
out sound waves using a cane, and that outlines objects in the world. So it's a bit like Stifled, that kind of.
Oh yeah, I was like, hang on a second. This is another
Yeah,
one of those
I
situations where
just
I'm like,
wanted
I've
to
played
say-
this game
Yeah.
already.
Honestly, I always thought that Stifled and Blind were the same thing. And
So
now you're
that's what I
talking
was
about
like.
it, I'm like, oh yeah. So that's
Yeah.
what the game I was waiting. I was waiting for Blind. I wasn't waiting for Stifled. And now I know what I should play.
I look forward to playing Blind simply
Same
because
here.
Stifled was not my cup of tea. It was a cup of tea filled with a little thing screaming at me all the time in the dark, and I'm just like, I can deal with that, but it's just too weird. It was just a bit too weird for me,
Too
and
weird.
that's off of a very long.
And this
weird
guy likes
stick.
weird. He
Yeah, I
likes
do
weird.
like weird.
So
Someone is talking about weird. We have Zim, the expert that plays all the weird stuff usually, and,
Yeah.
and goes really far with that too.
He
You know,
plays
even
games for like 4
especially-
years.
Especially when he starts playing things on his go, and you don't want to know what this guy all like watches and plays there. So weird in the Zim perspective isn't really that weird.
no. We should have like a regular on the like a section of the show. It's like Zim's Weird Corner or something like that. Yeah, that
Sounds
could
like
be
a
a thing.
plan.
Kind of already have that, Mike. That's my
True.
quadrant.
True, that's your quadrant. And don't leave.
Come to my studio
Yeah.
someday.
Yeah, don't harass my quadrant. But yeah, Blind, it's coming soon. It's built from the ground up for VR. It's launching again on the 18th of September. So if you like weird, you've got a choice of 2 games this week. So you're going to be really happy.
September.
Yeah, 18th of September seems to
Magic.
be the day.
It's
Yeah,
the
It's a good
magic
week.
month.
and that's again on Rift, Vive, and PSVR. So fun for everyone.
Cool concept.
Yeah.
I'm surprised when games launch on multiple platforms. I really am.
It's becoming
because
more common now. It's becoming more common.
not a super easy thing to do.
No,
But it does seem to be like, as a developer, it seems a bit less common, oddly, for people to launch on one platform and then kind of 6 months later launch on another too. Like developers seem to wait. There must be an internal lag of like, oh, it's ready on Rift, it's ready on Vive, still optimizing, trying to pass PlayStation QA. You know, like that must be a thing.
But you also
Unless
have to, as a developer, you have to get your game on PlayStation VR nowadays because they all know it sells way better than on PC. So they're like, I need to. Usually they try PC first, and then they are like, I need to get on PlayStation. It's always a goal. It's always an aim, like from the start, from the concept.
But why 3 platforms at once? Like there must
At
be
once, yeah, that's a good one.
element.
Yeah, I don't know.
It must be, because games, right, in general game sales, except for all the microtransaction stuff, you drop a game, day one is like your high point. Like that's the most your game is going to sell, and from most games, and then it just tails off, right? So it must be that like there's an attractive reverberation that happens, and echoing that happens if you launch on 3 platforms at once. Otherwise, why would you wait? You know, why would you not just phase it out?
It's
maybe
probably
it's
because like
there's like reviews appearing, and then people start looking up, can I play this on PlayStation? And then it's also out on PlayStation. Maybe
it's
that's what I
more
mean. It must
likely
be an
that
echo.
there isn't any exclusivity. Like we discussed this like on our last week's show about like platform exclusivity, and maybe it's because these games like Ubisoft Montreal is huge. They don't have to get any exclusivity payment from any of these platforms, so they just launch it on all the platforms at once. And you know, Winlands, like the guy said, you know, if they had it their way, they would have launched it on all platforms at once. But it just so happens that Oculus funded some of their games, so they couldn't. So maybe that's why. Same with Blind, maybe, you know, they developed the game themselves. They paid for all the development themselves. So they think, well, let's give it to the biggest audience we possibly can all at once. Maybe that's why.
Mike, you're a very smart person.
Well,
sometimes.
I don't know if I am the oldest, actually. I don't know if I'm the oldest.
Are you the oldest?
You are.
I am the oldest. Yeah, so that's why I'm the oldest. I'm the wisest.
Just look at the beards. That's how you know age.
Yeah.
You have the biggest beard.
You know, if you
don't have
cut me in, if you cut me in
He's
half,
digging a hole for himself right as we speak.
you see a lot of rings in there.
But it is true. Like
No,
you have the longest beard, then Zim, and then Rowdy, and then me. So for some reason it does.
Then you, yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't have a beard.
There's
I don't
beard
need a
that's-
beard. I don't need a beard to be cool and manly.
Let's quote him on that later. Let's quote him on that later.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Okay. Well, if you want to be manly,
Okay.
you could also grease yourself up, cover yourself in petrol, and build a car in VR. That would make you pretty badass and manly. So let's talk about Wrench. And it's a game where you can do exactly that. You can build a car piece by piece in virtual reality, which is freaking awesome. And it's a game about building cars, building race cars in particular. And basically you run a shop, and you're responsible for like customers' cars. They can come in from like just wanting a fluid change to replacing the bearings on their engine or whatever. And what you have to do is you have to sort of get them in, fix up the car and send it away. But also you can just build up a race car from scratch, which is freaking awesome. And the first 2 cars they've licensed for the game they're not very common cars, but they're kind of popular race cars in the enthusiast scene anyway, and they're the Bauer LTD Catfish and the Exomotive Exoset. They're kind of based on the MX-5 engine, apparently, or the Miata if you're based in the US.
Oh, the Miata, okay.
Yeah. The game is being developed for VR and Pancake, so you know, depending if you have a VR headset or not, you can enjoy this one. But it also has a library of aftermarket parts, so you know you can have customers that want aftermarket parts added to their cars. You can add those, or you can just add it to your own car, which is persistent in the shop itself. And out of all the things I saw this week, this was the one that really stood out for me as being like the freaking coolest thing I've ever seen. Because as we're probably playing the trailer now, you'll see the little sort of time-lapse montage of someone actually building an engine from scratch with all these parts laid out like a big Meccano set or like a Lego set. You're like kind of piecing it all together. And the thing is, like, you know, I know nothing about cars or mechanics. You know, I'm completely useless when it comes to those things. I can just about change a light bulb. But the idea of playing with this kind of huge Lego set with all the pieces laid out in front of me and kind of building a car, which then I can start the actual engine of, kind of really satisfies that like Lego building days of my younger days, you know.
I got a question for that though. Like,
Yeah, go for it.
will this game teach me to repair my own car?
Quite possibly. And this is the thing I was getting to, because like after you're putting all these parts together, you must be learning how these things work, how suspension works, how a wishbone works, and how brake calipers work and all that kind of stuff. So you must be learning as you're doing this, and maybe it could be applied to real life as well.
It would be really cool if they would introduce like a I don't know, like a for dummy mode where they do like like things like how to change a tire, like how to change a light bulb, how to change your oil, whatever, like all like the things that you like
I agree,
regularly should know
100%.
about a car. But
Yeah.
then you get to learn that in virtual reality. If they would make a mode like that, which I think would be pretty cool, that you could just learn like the basics about those kind of things, that'd be freaking awesome.
That application is really good for education, but also it's self-led learning, which is like one of the best ways to learn. Is like you have an interest, you go through it, but it's almost like the next stage. Like right now, if you don't know how to cook broccoli right, where do you go? You probably go to YouTube and say, how do I cook broccoli? Like I imagine a time when you've got something like that, platforms which allow you to learn through VR and have the kind of play set like what Mike was talking about. But for something like this, it's really funny from a gamer side. Immediately my brain, I'm just going to talk you through this. My brain immediately goes, boring, right? And then after that, my brain kicks in, my DK2 festered brain kicks in and says, Zim, remember the stuff that you thought was going to be terribly, awfully boring, like Euro Truck Simulator and any simulators, to be honest, the boring stuff tends to be really engaging, strangely.
Yeah.
And fishing games, even, stuff that you think in a 2D game, right? Old school console or whatever, I would never have enjoyed it. VR, one of my favorite things, even like poke around a table. I loved that for ages in VR just because it was so convincing. Same thing here. Like, what if you could sit in a multiplayer environment, like constructing this engine together with no tutorials, and try to work it out?
So, can you build this car and then also drive it, or is it just you build it, you can look at it, and then it's done?
So once you built it, you have to put the oil in it, and then you can start it and have the satisfaction of like, I built that car and I've started it. Yeah.
And is it also physics based?
Physics based, yeah. So you've got all the tools. You need like torque wrenches. You really need to torque it to the right torque and stuff like that. And
but these games are popular nowadays as well. If you look at what Jacksepticeye is playing, is like House Flipper and like car mechanic simulator and these kind of things. Even on
building
PC,
a PC simulator.
Yeah. And these are just general things that are like very common, or like the game building simulator.
There's one more title we need. It's a spaceship like builder. There was one before, it was like a pancake version, and then you can just go with your friends to space, to like Mars. That would be I don't know.
So you just give me an idea. What they should do as DLC in this game is that you could build a DeLorean from Back to the Future. Yeah, that would have you
interested. You can get a license for that, and then also
to your point there, Nathan, in terms of the space side of it. If you know Dean Hall from DayZ and that whole thing, and Out of Ammo, which I think you were a big fan of.
Yeah, they worked on a space one. Yeah,
but Stationeers was built on Unity, and I had a chat with him at Res 2 years ago, and he said, I can definitely bring this to VR. It'll just be a simple conversion that they have to do, given it's on the Unity platform.
If he's watching, there is some interest from us.
Yeah, I've always been interested in it because it's like multiplayer on a spaceship, blow your friends out the hatch, all that. Yeah, definitely, I'll do that.
So the cool thing about this is, like, many guys have had that kind of dream of building like a kit car in their garage, and now you can actually do it without actually getting a divorce, because normally these things end in divorce because you start these projects, you spend a few months on it, and then there's just like half a built car in the garage, and the wife is screaming at you to move this thing because there's no stuff for the baby stuff. So now you can actually build a kit car without having a divorce.
That is FReality, Mike. I'm just saying.
Be no car at all, like.
Well, you can have a virtual one, which is the next best thing. But yeah, it scratches my itch, I think, because I've wanted to, pick up one of those big Lego kits just recently, like the Ghostbusters Firehouse or, the huge Millennium Falcon. But I've got nowhere to put that thing. So like something like this, I think that'll scratch that itch for me.
But the Legos, they're all prefabs. Like if I was gonna remember like last year's, this will dovetail very nicely. Last year's Apple AR demo, right? Showed this like whole Lego thing in AR, which was multiplayer in one place. You could collect pieces, you could look into pieces that were physical, or you could build a town virtually. I thought that wasn't too bad. But again, I feel like there's a tactile element to all of this. even the piecing stuff together in VR, because I've done a fair number of these like IKEA type simulators where you build furniture and stuff in VR.
God.
If you can't feel it, you know what I mean? Like if you can't feel it, feel the pieces interlocking or whatever, there's a big loss to that feel. The mechanical side is important.
I like IKEA simulators.
Don't. Let's not, because we're running strapped on time anyway as it is before we go deep into that rabbit hole. But let's talk about Nostos next, because I think Wrench is really cool. By the way, it is coming to early access on Steam later on this year. So keep an eye on that one.
All headsets?
All headsets on Steam, yes. I don't know if it's coming to Oculus. Not sure about that yet.
So that will mean also 3D head support?
The Oculus killer.
Okay,
3D
nice.
head support, the big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Can you confirm this? Yeah, apparently. Wow, I can play it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well done.
Say yes in chat if you know what 3D head is. Say no if you don't. I'll bet you it's going to be like 30% of chat know what 3D head is.
I don't want to know what the chat's interpretation of what 3D head is. Anyway, before we digress, let's talk about Nostos, because we were supposed to talk about this last week, but again, we were just blabbing on so much that we couldn't talk about it. So let's talk about it.
Good, we're doing better now.
Yeah, we're not doing much better, to be honest, but we're going to have to squeeze it in. So Nostos is an upcoming game developed by NetEase Games. You're saying, who are NetEase Games? Well, it's a very good question. They're a Chinese internet technology company based in Beijing. And although you've probably never heard of them, they're actually ranked as one of the largest internet and video game companies in the world. They actually rank number 17, ranking higher than Twitter in terms of revenue. Like they actually make $3.63 billion US.
Half of that on espionage, spying on U.S. secrets.
This is what they do. They mainly are an online platform in China for games like World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Overwatch. So they host the sort of like the Chinese servers basically of those titles.
We're in the wrong business, guys.
For sure. They produce their own games as well. They're mainly mobile ports of like popular PC titles, but they're developing their game in-house, which is this VR game called Nostos. And it's an interesting title. And the reason why it's interesting is because it looks freaking beautiful. Like it looks like Zelda Breath of the Wild in VR. Like that's what it looks like for sure. It looks amazing. The game itself was actually at Gamescom.
Yes.
Completely passed me by. I did not see it anywhere at Gamescom. I don't know if you saw it at Gamescom. Did you, dude?
I did, yeah, but they were just a part of like a Vive part, but there was no poster of the game, nothing. People were just playing it, and it was like a little tiny sticker of like the game. That's it. I don't know. When I watched the trailer, I was like, wow.
Yeah,
wow,
me too.
This is something I want to play now.
Yeah. But this is the thing, like me and Nathan did tons of research before going to Gamescom because we wanted to make use of the time there.
Never found it up front.
This game was never mentioned. Population 1 was never mentioned.
No.
I have no idea. But anyway, we digress. So it does look very interesting indeed. The game features exploration, climbing, base building, driving, shooting, and of course, huge creatures that you can fight with. It has 20 players can play together in a single world at a time, but the devs can sort of replicate that world an infinite amount of times, apparently. You have to work together to gather resources, build, and form a clan, and then tackle quests together. So it sounds kind of cool. The really interesting thing about this game, though, is that it's implementing a feature called Spatial OS, which means that players can explore seamless worlds of unprecedented scale, transcending the limits of traditional server boundaries, and persistent online worlds where players' actions have long-term effects. So this means, for example, if you cut down all the trees in an area, they will be cut down forever whenever you return to that area. But also that area will slowly turn into desert over time as well, which is super interesting.
You know what that means, Mike? In about 6 months, that game's going to...
The whole thing's going to desert. Yeah.
Big desert.
It's going to be depressing.
Yeah.
No creatures, no humans, no trees, no plants, no animals.
Exactly. Well, these things could have that knock-on effect. They've got the system there, and it uses like this kind of special system, Spatial OS. I think it's actually hosted by a UK-based company. It's kind of a special service.
That's so cool that you can even innovate based on the server technology you have for a VR game, where it changes in a whole new way.
And I know a lot of people have been craving like this kind of MMO game in VR. I know Orbis VR was kind of the first one to really sort of push it out there. But I really don't know if that's still got a thriving community behind it, because like we've said earlier on with multiplayer games, especially on PC, they tend to drop off quite quickly. So I'd be interested to know if people are still playing Orbis. If you are, let us know in the chat. I'd love to know.
It's got a big patch plan next year, Mike. Orbis, they're doing a whole reskin. There was enough feedback about the game. They felt what they would do is they'd patch the game, extend the content, and basically redo the graphical engine, I believe. So it's got something coming Q1 next year, apparently. It's good to see that there's some competition.
So sounds like there's still interest in Arbus then when they do an update like that, I would say.
Oh, there must be. Yeah, there must be. But yeah, it's a very ambitious game, this Nostos. Very interested. And obviously the company's huge, so they're going to be piling money into this thing. So could end up being something really cool. So definitely want to keep an eye on. It's not coming until 2019, so they've got some time to bake this one in the oven to make sure it's really nice.
Will you also be able to play that on that newly announced mixed reality headset that we spoke about last week? What was the name of that one again? Had like a funny name.
Oh, the Acer Oho.
Oho.
The Oho. Does it have Oho support as well?
I have no idea, although I believe it's going to be aimed at Steam, so I'd imagine so. Like most, even if they're not supported, like Windows MR headsets aren't stated as supported, they normally do work, I think. So,
okay.
So if you've got an Oho, you will be happy, and you'll be Ohoing all the way through Nostos.
Oho.
Right. We've been talking about Ohos, doohickeys, strange, weird things. It's been a strange show this week. We always get weird when we do this late, I think. Anyway, let's kind of round this one off with some Apple AR. So this week, Apple hosted an event at the Steve Jobs Theater, and they unveiled their new lineup of Apple Watches and iPhones. They announced the 4 Series Apple Watch, which can do electrocardiograms. Can your watch do that, Rowdy? I don't think so, bud.
Yeah, I got the app. Oh, that's cool.
Rowdy, stop hating.
Yeah, what else? So your watch can now do an ECG.
Yeah,
it's fake. It's fake because
it's definitely fake.
Can you stop? No one cares.
They also announced their iPhone XS, XS Max, and XR. Yeah, no one cares, really. Alongside their new hardware, they also showed off Apple ARKit 2 demos, including Gallagher from their new AR arcade series. And they had 3 people with their iPhones, their new iPhones out. And they were doing this like kind of like AR demo where they were shooting aliens that were bursting out of this kind of retro AR arcade cabinet.
Pitiful.
And this is the thing. Although I'm like excited about AR, it's just like no.
They shouldn't have shown AR at that event. The last one, they did AR justice. This one, like this whole like
dude, like see it like
Galaga gamer thing, like. It's like no.
It didn't look good.
No.
It didn't look good.
No. And then they did the fucking AR fish. Ooh, look at the AR fish.
Yeah.
Like there's some properly cool tech, and I really think, despite Rowdy's giant frowny face that all of our audio listeners can't see, it just keeps on the whole time we talk about Apple. I do think that Apple do a great job of pushing and promoting things. However, I felt Steve Jobs rolling in his feckin' grave, because when you saw the complications on the watch face, which is all the little bits on the watch, and they like exploded into like, oh, now you can totally feck up the face of your watch, and there's way more bits you can put on it. And the naming convention, there's so many things that they're doing that Jobs would never have done. I was a huge Jobs fan.
I love Jobs.
I miss Steve Jobs because he was such a cool dude. Even though behind closed doors, I know he was a demon. It's fine. You know, what came out of the shop is what matters to all of us. Yeah. And I do see them losing their way a little bit with this announcement. Why do we need 3 new iPhones with funky names that are almost indistinguishable from one another? I don't know.
They are for different markets.
Sim, you just
you can now buy you want one. $10,000.
I don't. The only thing I'm interested in from that whole lineup is the slightly larger watch face. And what they said was they kept it in the same case size, but basically they flattened it out a little bit and expanded the screen, so you've lost a little bit of the girthiness of the watch.
The watches are cool.
So you would buy one of the new watches, Sim?
I'm a penny pincher. Like I don't go down like refresh my tech every year. I don't do that. Like my PC maybe every 2 years, and this type of stuff or iPhone or whatever maybe every 3 to 4 years. So I'm not that quick. I've got my money on a card this time, Mike.
A graphics
So-
card.
Graphics card, yeah.
Oh,
of
okay,
course.
good, man. What about you, Nathy?
I'm gonna play in the danger zone. I like the Samsung watches more.
What's he doing? Get off the show.
The problem
You're-
is it just doesn't work well with an iPhone, so that's why I don't have one. But I just don't want the Apple one. I just don't feel.
Do you know what? Do you know what, Nathy? You disappoint me.
But Rowdy paid me to say this. I'm sorry.
Of course I did.
We're all just like slowly getting more Apple real estate into the camera, right?
It's not Apple.
No, that is true. But what I do like about it is the fact that you can now see your heartbeat, and also, you know, it will warn you if something goes on, or when you fall, it calls an emergency number. And I think that's a very important thing, you know, where the healthcare side of things also it's pushed more on these devices.
So when you fall off your electric bike in the woods, calls an ambulance, you'd be like, wait, no, I'm fine. Cancel.
Well, I twice almost called like an emergency number with my.
Oh, by pressing the button
iPhone.
3 times?
Well,
yeah,
yes,
I
yes.
did that too. Yeah, I've done that too.
The thing that's really handy with these watches, actually, the 3 series. I got mine out. Usually, when I go to these U.S. trips, I always pick up one piece of technology to bring home as my gift.
Smuggles it back.
Anyway, what I was saying was, one of the things that I find really helpful about it is the fact that you can get a phone call over your watch. Like, it totally surprised me, because like I knew about the feature, but you'd like just put it in the back of your brain. And I was like in the supermarket or something. My wife calls me on my watch, you know, and like my phone's in the car, and it's like, what?
Do you know what though? This is one thing that I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I only just found out about this yesterday, because I was like, I want to buy one of those new watches because I want to go for a run and listen to music just on my watch rather than take my phone with me with some AirPods. What I actually realized was, even if you've got a Series 1 iWatch, like Apple Watch, like me, you can do that already.
Yeah, you can load basically.
Yeah. I never knew that.
Here.
I never knew that. I was literally about to throw like £400
This
at the screen.
This is why Rowdy buys Samsung, because he knows what he's getting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that he's just been sitting there quiet. So, Rowdy, what's your impression of the Apple announcement? Did you pay any heed to it, or you're just like...
It's just the same every year. They don't announce anything new.
They have new
It's just
colors.
New phones.
They have a red one,
new colors,
a yellow one, Rowdy.
I like the Apple Watches though. I like them. I've liked them from the beginning. The only thing I don't like about smartwatches in general is the battery life. I really would like to see that improve, because it just runs out too quickly. I don't have a Samsung watch, by the way. I got a Huawei watch. They're a bit different, but yeah, I like having a smartwatch. I kind of bought this just because I like gadgets. I don't need it at all. But it's not something that I can use when I don't have my phone with me. That was like a more expensive model. I have it's always connected with Bluetooth. So.
Talking about phones, I think one of these new iPhones has a longer battery life now, right?
Yeah, the one with the largest screen.
Yeah, sure.
But still, what is longer battery life?
I've heard it was like half an hour per day longer or something.
Yeah, I still need to charge it every day. It feels so old school. Like I really want more battery life. I want to charge my phone every 2-3 days.
Yeah, but that's you know, as someone who I graduated in power engineering, like batteries are one of the slowest
growing
developed
technologies. It's the same principle they've been using since ever. It's still a chemical process that they're using. So
yeah. So I mean, the fact that they're able to squeeze that much out of a device that's that thin, you know, is already an impressive thing. But the thing I wanted to
more to
focus
do
on
with optimization of the device itself than with the improving of the battery, probably. Because if they just make the battery larger and they remove extra crap from the phone and just put more battery in it, and then the battery life is longer, but the battery quality is still the same, you know.
You're absolutely right.
I feel like we're digressing a bit, like from
AR. That's why I was trying to say the thing that I saw with this as the core message was what wasn't there, right? Like, again, Apple has no presence in VR. We're pretty confident at this stage. They're not interested. AR, even to me, ARKit is their main area of interest in terms of what's in the public domain right now.
So was there nothing about the VR thing?
They're not showcasing developers.
So this is what my prediction on the whole thing. Like, they're showing ARKit 2, you know, it's going to be part of iOS 12, which is coming on the 17th of September. But what they're doing right now is laying the foundations. Excellent. They're laying the foundations and saying, this is what you can do with a little window into AR. But I almost guarantee I'll do a little bet with you all now. We've bet before. I bet some burgers with you guys. I'll bet some more burgers with you guys, and that is that within the next year, Apple will announce some AR glasses, and it will be based on these foundations that they're building right now. So these persistent worlds and everything else that they're building with ARKit 2, it's going to be with glasses. And I think Apple are going to be the ones that really crack it. Like Magic Leap, yeah, I think their product is interesting. HoloLens, interesting. But Apple are the only ones that really have the mass market appeal. If they said tomorrow, or if they said yesterday at this keynote, we're launching AR glasses, the whole world would have lost their shit.
But I mean,
and everyone would have bought one. Or not everyone, but the masses would have done it. And I think they would, but I think it's only within a year that they're going to do that.
Yeah,
and then
it's not a new product then. I mean, yeah, it's a new product for them, but it's not like really new technology. I mean,
but it's going to be a product for the masses. This is the difference. Like, Magic Leap isn't a product for the masses right now. HoloLens isn't a product for the masses right now. Apple are the ones that can do this successfully. You got to remember, Apple were the ones that converted everyone to smartphones and smartwatches, in fact. And they've got the power to do that with glasses as well. And the thing is as well, BlackBerry makes a comeback. But I think AR adoption will be huge, and I think it will be mass market. Like when Apple do something like this, I think it will be huge. But what I think is that it will also have a knock-on effect to VR as well. So once AR becomes so popular, VR will grow with it, I think. So
But
that's my prediction anyway.
Do you really think the technology is this far to do that right now? Do you think it's affordable enough to do that right now?
I can almost guarantee that they are building glasses right now. They're like
they are. I mean, there's been prototypes about that and patents.
Yeah.
So they are doing it. It's just a matter of if they're gonna release it and when they're gonna release it. But
within a year, I say, is my prediction.
So we can expect, let's say, they sell them for maybe 1,500, 2K, something like that.
Yep.
That would be affordable in a way. Okay.
But remember, we already had news about this about 4 months ago, right? The AT2020. So they're planning to release in 2020, basically 20K per eye. Sorry, 20K per eye. No, AT. I'm confusing my numbers now. I don't know if it was 16. I think it was.
But basically,
8K per eye.
It's
inevitable. It was 8K per eye.
It's inevitable, I think, in my mind. And I think if anyone's going to crack it, it's going to be Apple.
But
to make a product that's mass appeal.
Honestly, this year's live stream, this was the first time I felt like I don't need a new phone and I don't really need to upgrade. I just didn't feel the overall. Like usually there are some upgrades that are kind of nice to have.
Yeah.
But this time, I don't know. I was like, yeah, I have like an iPhone 10. I was like, why do I need this? Yeah, maybe for the color, but
you used to change your phone every year.
Huh?
You used to change your phone every year, all of you?
No.
No.
I've got an iPhone 7 still.
I got a 6 because I'm staying with my 3.5mm jack. Thank you very much.
I didn't even have it's funny that before I had an iPhone 10, I had an iPhone 6S. And before that, I didn't even have a smartphone. I just used an old school phone. I didn't even use a smartphone. I used an iPad. That's all. But I didn't use a smartphone.
The first smartphone I had was an iPhone 4, I think.
You see, he is a believer.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Deep inside,
how do you think I know that it's not good? Because I tried it for almost 3 years.
He's the worst kind of convert. He's the guy who went over, he saw Jesus and now he's freaking reading the Bible with Satan.
Yeah, definitely.
Dirty. Right, so let's wrap this one up then, because we've talked about cars, we've talked about doohickeys, we've talked about weirdos, and now we've talked about 3D heads. It's been a crazy one. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this crazy ride. We always feel a bit mad when it's late at night like this.
Swinging. We also spoke about swinging.
Swinging, yeah. Let me remind you that despite what we've been talking about this show, it is actually a VR and AR MR talk show.
Is it?
You'd be surprised. Because normally we talk about puzzles or iPhones. So it's live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US. Obviously, we didn't live stream this time. It's pre-recorded. Apologies for that. It's Rowdy's fault. But we'll be back on track next week, hopefully. I think we are.
Yeah,
maybe. I guess. I don't know. We need to talk about it after the show, I guess. But you can also check out the audio version of the show on Google Play Music, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one. If you have, let us know. And enjoy yourself in the metaverse during the week. And we'll catch up with you the following week.
And don't buy an
We'll
iPhone.
be back.
See a whole bunch of people
Oh,
at Oculus
God.
Connect as well. That's only a couple of weeks away. So
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
gearing up for that
Alright,
next
boys.
week. So
Meet us there. Free
Have a
Mike
good one.
Pillows giveaway.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
take care.
See you later.
Bye bye.